Hello, everybody. I am live. I'm so sorry I'm a bit late. As is always the case with Facebook, I had troubles getting on, but I'm here now with chaos behind me and 5 puppies, but here I am. I hope you are all well. I'm hoping that Laura is going to give me some questions to answer. Yeah, it feels like ages since I've been here, but I am here to answer your questions. Please excuse the noise in the background. Where are they? There they are, under there, causing chaos. There you are. Little puppy there, crapping everywhere. So, yes, just type your questions. Let me know what you want me to answer, and I will crack on and answer some questions. In the meantime, I'll show you the odd puppy. Here you go. You're a monkey, aren't you? Yes, so I need some midwifery questions because right, so first question in. I have a private scan before 20 weeks and they flagged possible gestational diabetes, but said the NHS won't test yet. The stomach on the baby was about 90th centile. Is it worth pushing for an earlier test with the midwife, and should I be worried? I don't think it is worth pushing for an earlier test. Necessarily, unless you've got any symptoms. We wouldn't normally test that early, so I would probably wait until around 24 weeks and then probably push for a test. We would normally do a test at around 28 weeks, but if a scan, see what they say at your private scan and then take it from there. You might find if they pick up the same thing at the private scan that they may refer you for a glucose tolerance test. So again, I don't know how many weeks pregnant this lady is, but yeah, I would certainly wait until your 20-week scan. That would be my advice. Next one. I'm 14 weeks pregnant with baby number 3, and I already have a UTI. It's burning and hurts when I wee. I can't stand up or sit down for long before my body thinks I need to pee again. Any help would be advised. You need to go to the doctor's, my lovely, and hopefully get some antibiotics. We don't want you suffering with a UTI. It's not good for your pregnancy, so you are actually better off getting it tested and getting it treated sooner rather than later, really. Excuse me, I'm going to see. Excuse me. So yeah, I would get that checked out if I was you, just to be on the safe side. It's not very nice either. So make sure you're drinking plenty, keeping hydrated and that sort of thing. But yeah, definitely get it checked out. I have my 16-week appointment. I have my 16-week midwife appointment in a couple of weeks, but I've been told it's over the phone. Is this normal? I was expecting to be in person as restrictions are due to lift on the 19th, and my appointment is after this date. Could it be in person? I think you'll find that appointments like 16 weeks, 24 weeks that are just sort of check-in are probably more likely to be online and that sort of thing. And I don't think there's much that you're going to be able to do about it. I know we have lifted restrictions, but we are still really struggling with infection rates. So I think keeping it to a minimum for both you and your midwife is probably not a bad shout. Obviously, if you don't feel well, then it's worth pushing and saying, actually, I feel I need to have my blood pressure checked or urine or anything like that. But actually, as long as you're well, it's just a sort of check-in just to see how you're doing, really. So I wouldn't worry too much. Is it really safe to have the whooping cough vaccine? I'm not sure about it. I've been advised not to take it and heard different opinions. Is it necessary? I am quite pro-vaccine, so I'm always really going to say yes to these things. It doesn't just protect you, it protects your baby. And for somebody who has had whooping cough, I was extremely poorly with it. It is horrendous. And should you get whooping cough in pregnancy, that is really, really not very good. So I would definitely have the whooping cough vaccine. Is my shout. Yes, definitely. And also it sort of brings us on to the other vaccine debate. Shouldn't you have the COVID vaccine? I've had, anybody who's interested, if you want to go onto my Instagram, The Honest Midwife, there is an IGTV between myself and our obstetric consultant, Dr. Caldwell, sorry, it's the anaesthetist is on, and we are debating the whole should you, shouldn't you. And what he said is actually, and what the documentation that we've got says, is there is no logical reason, given the components and how the vaccine works, to think that it would be harmful for your pregnancy. It works in the very similar way to the flu vaccine. It's not a live vaccine, and it's thought that the risks of getting COVID later in your pregnancy, especially, which bring along risks of preterm birth, preterm labour, and that sort of thing, those risks outweigh any perceived risks of actually getting the vaccine. So personally, if it was me, I would get the vaccine. Can you see your GP instead of dealing with health visitors if you don't get along with yours, or are they mandatory? They're not mandatory. You don't have to see your health visitor. You don't have to see your GP. I mean, I think those first initial visits are possibly beneficial, but if you don't want to see your health visitor, you don't have to. Unless they've raised concerns and you're pulling back, that might not be a good thing to disengage. But after those initial checks, you don't necessarily have to see them if you don't want to. But you do need to have the initial one. So you need to have the initial visit from your health visitor and sort of engage that way. But once your baby's here and sort of settled and gaining weight, then you're good to go. Just checking what they're chewing. I'm 35 weeks and have a C-section booked for 38 weeks. I was just wondering, if I went into labour before waters broke, would they do a section? This baby ate last baby was emergency, sadly passed away after birth. Oh, bless your heart. Sorry, I just have to read this again. Stacey, I'm 35 weeks and have a C-section booked for 38 weeks. I was just wondering if I went into labour or water spoke before, then they would still do the section. This is baby, I'm presuming number 8. Last baby was emergency cesarean and sadly passed away after birth. I'm petrified of going into labour before. Bless you, Stacey. Did you really say baby number 8? Gosh, you've got a busy household. We will absolutely try, and we endeavour to do your cesarean section. So we don't just say, oh, you've gone into labour, carry on. But with the best way in the world, I don't know what your previous experiences were like, whether you've had vaginal births or anything like that. It may be that you just labour too quickly for us to be able to get you into theatre. So if if we can, we will get you into theatre and we'll get it done. But say there is another lady on the list who, or not on the list, that's in labour, and you come in and your baby, we're listening to your baby's heart rate and everything is hunky-dory, there's no problems or anything, but the lady down the road, down the corridor, her baby's heart rate is decelerating and she too needs a cesarean section, she would go before you. So there is that potential that if you do go into labour, that you will end up with a vaginal delivery, especially given if it's your 8th baby and you've had previous vaginal deliveries, then it might just be that it's too quick to stop it. So I know that's probably not reassured you, but we will do everything we can to get you in for a cesarean if that's what's needed and that's what you want. I'm 22 weeks pregnant now with my first baby, a beautiful baby girl, and I have had the best possible pregnancy anyone could wish for. But the past few days have been hell. Oh, I can't sleep any more than 30 minutes because of heartburn. It feels like somebody's literally burning my chest up into my throat. I wake up sweating with a watery mouth and have to go and be sick because I'm in that much pain. It's getting to the point where I'm just up all night because I can't cope and I'm so drained and emotional. Okay, so there is a few sort of homeopathic things you could try. You could try milk. You could try peppermint. You could try Gaviscon. You can also go to your doctor and get some ranitidine. Or there's a omeprazole. They may give you that as well. So, but go to your doctor. If it's making you feel this lousy, go to your doctor and there is stuff that they can give you. So ask them if they can give you omeprazole. I don't know if you can have that in pregnancy, but ask them about that. But if not, they will give you maybe some ranitidine and that will really help. I'm 28 weeks pregnant with my first, and due to gestational diabetes and some other health issues, I've been advised I'll be induced at 38 weeks. Usually I know I would start antenatal classes at 30 weeks, but our NHS trust isn't running them. All the NCT ones are full. I just wondered what other I should do. I suffer with major anxiety. Well, my lovely, you need to do Let's Talk Birth and Baby, and if Laura's watching, so there's a link just further down. If you click on that, I would definitely recommend doing them anytime after 24 weeks. The first one is free, and it will cover everything that you absolutely need. Well, the first one won't. So the first one is labour and birth part 1. Then that's free, and then all the others are £20. So definitely click on that link and you can sign up to that. And they're fab. Everybody really enjoys the classes. I take them, so they're really super fab. Is a numbness right under the right hand ribs normal at 35 weeks? Yeah, it can be. It's just where your baby's maybe sitting on a nerve or something like that. If you've got any shoulder tip pain, any reduction in movements, any disturbance to your vision, blurred vision, headaches, that sort of thing, excessive swelling, those are the sort of things that we're looking at. But a bit of numbness under your ribs, it's probably just a nerve thing. I am 37 weeks plus 5, but at a midwife appointment a couple of weeks back, my midwife noticed I'm measuring bigger than expected. She sent me for a growth scan, GTT test and torch screening. All came back negative, and from the scan it was discovered I was carrying a little more fluid than normal. Today I went for another growth scan as my fluid is slightly increased again. It's been recommended I'm reduced at 38 weeks. Any advice? If you can, I would do our labour and birth part 2 class. If you haven't already done labour and birth part 1, because that's where we talk about induction of labour and the processes and how your baby will be monitored and all that sort of stuff. So that might put your mind at rest and make you feel a bit more prepared. There isn't anything you can really do about the fluid. Again, make sure you're keeping hydrated, keep an eye on your baby's movements. But yeah, other than that, there's not really anything that you can do. But I would follow the advice for induction. My midwife has told me I'm 3/5 engaged. What does this mean? This is my second baby, and everything has read so far says that subsequent babies don't usually get engaged until labour. Not necessarily, they do. So 3/5 engaged means that when we feel your tummy, and a feeling for baby, we can only feel 2 fingers worth of the baby's head. So 3/5, so guys, so 3/5 are actually in the pelvis. No, it's not. 2/5 are in the pelvis. Sorry, no. There's 2 ways of writing, that's why I'm getting confused. So we have 2/5 palpable, which means that we've got 2 fingers and we can feel the baby's head on the 2 fingers. 3/5 engaged means exactly the same thing. So it means that there's 3/5 down and 2 up. I'm confusing you, aren't I? So basically it's how far the head is down into the pelvis, and your baby is 3/5 engaged, so it's really getting quite low down there. But yeah, a lot of babies do engage, a lot of babies don't second time round. The next cesarean workshop, let me have a little look for you. Somewhere in August, I know that much. Let's have a little look. Where are we at? Here it is. Times unbook. The next one is on the 10th of August, and I will put the link up for you in the chat box. There you go. When should baby start engaging on a first pregnancy? Usually, Tabitha, we would expect that babies would start to move into a head down position from around about 34 weeks. And over those successive weeks, they start moving a little bit further down. But again, some of them just bounce around until the very last minute. So there is no fixed date particularly. Okay, I have run out of questions now. I've not run out of puppies though. I've still got a bloody puppy for every hand, haven't I? Yes. Yes, see, you guys are all having babies. I've got puppies. I would like to breastfeed, but planned on buying bottles and a breast pump a few weeks after so I could express and my partner could feed her too. I've been told to buy these things before she is here in case I don't express enough and have backup milk ready. What should I do? Now, I mean, that... I'm trying to think of an easy way to answer that question, because actually there isn't any reason why you shouldn't produce enough, but it's all about understanding the physiology of breast milk production. So I would definitely advise that you do our infant feeding class, where, and I'm not trying to just push all the classes, but it's a class that lasts for 2.5 hours. So it's a bit difficult for me to fully explain it here. But you shouldn't need to take stuff as backup for that reason, unless you're sort of thinking you're not sure whether you want to breastfeed. There's a link for that class there. I certainly don't think there's anything wrong with having some bottles and stuff in the background if that is what you are wanting to do, but I don't think you need to take them up because you need to just understand what gets the milk supply going, really. I don't know if that helps. Is it normal to feel nauseous due to baby being active at 36 weeks? It is. So we get that initial weeks of morning sickness as the hormones are sort of kicking in, and then it disappears. And then towards the later stages of pregnancy, when our belly is full of arms and legs and it's pushing everything up, we can start to feel a bit nauseous. Coupled with them squirming around inside of us, it's just a bit like, oh, you start to feel a bit seasick. So it's two different types of sickness, but yes, it is quite normal. You're just getting full of arms and legs, basically. Exciting. Very exciting. I'm trying to think what else I've got to let you know about. I got the blue tick this week on the old Insta. Apparently it's cool. I didn't realise this, but it is cool. So yeah, that's going on. Still got lots of other workshops, pelvic girdle pain workshops, cesarean section workshop. They're all on the website that I know Laura has put up there. Just seeing whether anybody's got any other questions. Ow. Ow.
Minnie.
Is that Minnie biting my feet?
Minnie's biting the feet.
So I think that's all the questions answered. I'll give you, oh, here you go. Congratulations on your, oh, no, not Twitter. Not Twitter. I'm not a Twitterer. I'm an Instagram girl. At The Honest Midwife. But yes, apparently it's very difficult to come by. Somebody tried to pretend to be me. God knows why. But they did. They set up an account pretending to be me. So I got a blue tick. There you go. But thank you very much for my congratulations. That's it, I think, from me today. Next up, is my question not showing up? It's not, Casey. Can you have a little, type it again and let's see where we are, because I'll hang around and see if I can find it. Let me have another look. Unless I've just missed it. It's not showing up. Type it again, my lovely, and I'll see if I can get it. They can all go away now, Isabel. I'm just waiting for Casey's question. Oh, Ella as well. So yours has just shown up, Ella. So can you put yours in there? So this is the annoying thing with Facebook. It never seems to work. Right. How much should I be feeling the baby move at 22 weeks? Does being obese change things? It can a little bit. I would say at 22 weeks, I wouldn't be worrying too much. That by sort of 24, we should hope that you are starting. Well, you should be feeling something. If you haven't felt anything by 24, I would go back to your midwife. I think if it's really stressing you out, maybe try and touch base with your midwife before and say, is there any chance you could have a listen in just to try and reassure you. But yeah, 22 weeks, I wouldn't be too stressed, but you should be starting to feel a bit of a pattern in the next couple of weeks. I'm just waiting for Ella and Casey, because that's not coming up. Oh, it does this all the time. So you guys, if you are on Instagram, if you go on to The Honest Midwife and send me a direct message, I will try and answer your question that way, because it's not coming up. Oh, Casey's question. I'm 33 weeks with twins and I'm terrified of a cesarean during this time. They're both currently breech and being separated from my partner because of restrictions. I'm also a massive control freak, and the thought of a cesarean section is giving me anxiety about not having control of the situation, not being able to move, to hold the babies. Is a natural breech twin birth dangerous? I'm terrified of that too, in case I need an emergency cesarean. I think on this one, Casey, you need to go with the skill and the advice of the team at the hospital that you're at. Now, some hospitals, you may have a dedicated breech delivery team that feel really confident doing a twin breech delivery. But a lot of hospitals won't, because it's a skill that we've become de-skilled with over time, and we're trying to get it back in hospitals. There's a big push to do more vaginal breech deliveries. But the reality is you want a confident team. And if the team, and it's not a reflection on your team at all, but if they're saying our recommendation is a breech, then is a cesarean section, then that would be the route that I would go down. Or, excuse me, or considering looking at other hospitals where there is a bit more confidence. In terms of your cesarean section though, I think what I would say is if you're going to go for a cesarean section, really try and do the workshop, because it's a nearly 2-hour workshop where we have our anaesthetist there. He talks about exactly what happens with pain relief. We talk about your recovery. We talk about what it's actually like, your pain relief, what the delivery is like, what the procedure is like. And what I would say about your recovery is that for the vast majority of people, although it takes your body a long time to heal, you are up and around and on your feet much quicker than you would probably think you are. So although people say, oh, well, you can't drive for 4 weeks, you can't do this for however, but you, and that's right, you can't. That doesn't mean to say you can't sort of gently move yourself around the house, potter around, sit in the garden, go for a little gentle walk in the park. Once you get to sort of a week, 10 days, and hopefully you're going to have a bit of support around you during that time to help pass baby to you and that sort of thing. What I would say is really important is that you keep on top of your pain relief. Make sure that whatever pain relief you've been given, you keep taking for a good fortnight. I found out I'm pregnant very early on, and from around 4 weeks I've got constant cramping. It comes and goes, and I know mild cramping is expected, but sometimes it's severe and cripples me. I spoke to the doctor and he said there was no bleeding, there was nothing we could do, and I just need to wait and see. I'm concerned something is wrong and perhaps it's stopped growing. I'm still only 6 weeks, but still no symptoms except cramping. It's still a waiting game. You can go for a private scan, but there isn't really anything else that you would be able to do, I'm afraid. Laura, if you're listening to this, can you see if you can find Ellie Jones's question as well? But yeah, it is a waiting game at 6 weeks, unfortunately. Hi, my daughter is 16 and terrified of being in hospital on her own. I live in Northern Ireland and the rules say I'm only allowed to stay with her for 3 hours after the birth. Is there not special circumstances in her case? I wouldn't necessarily have thought so. It's something though, Pauline, that is worth speaking with one of the coordinator leads, seeing whether she's under a teenage team that support her a bit better. And because a lot of hospitals do have a lead midwife for younger people having babies, just to give them that bit of extra support. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for you to push back and say, look, you know, I'm a mum, she doesn't have anybody else. I'm assuming that, you see, I think during the birth you'll be fine, but I think afterwards, I think 3 hours is probably longer than a lot of places are getting. So what I would say is that, you know, it's an opportunity for you to go home, rest after the delivery and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, just ask them and see what they say. I'm 26 weeks pregnant and I'm leaking quite a lot of colostrum. Been wearing breast pads since 18 weeks. I don't think there's anything I can do about this, but is there any point in starting? No, don't try and collect it or anything at the moment. Just wait. But it does say it's really exciting that at 37 weeks you're going to have absolutely no bother doing some colostrum harvesting. But yeah, I wouldn't do it now. Wouldn't do it now. Okay, that was a bit of a flurry. Ellie, I've got your question, haven't I? Sorry, that was, sometimes they just get lost in the ether. Right, that's it. I will be back next week with an Instagram live on Monday. Can't remember the time because I'm useless, but keep an eye on that. Follow me at The Honest Midwife and make sure you're following Your Baby Club on The Honest Midwife, and so I will be there to answer your questions. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I'm going up north for my goddaughter's christening, so I'm looking forward to that, and I will see you all next week. Take care.